I am sacrificing myself to save your lives, as I'm trying to warn you of the dangers. And despite this, I'm still getting attacked, still being threatened by the very people that I'm trying to save and warn. How screwed up is that? Oh, Travis Wingitzel. Back in 2017, I had a website, and for the 23rd of September 2017, I wanted to pay for a business website so that I can put videos up and documents and other such stuff so that people could have access to them as an alternative to YouTube. And I had a page on my website called Battle Updates, and it referred to the latter days and the battle for the true kingdom from the great and abominable church and the evil empire. But the church shut that all down after I had filed with the courts a petition for a redress of grievances. I shut it down, my website, the next day, and tanked my Amazon account for sales, and not too soon thereafter shut down Travis Wayne Goodsell, causing me to go to TWG, which then they shut that down, so I went back to Travis Wayne Goodsell. I was just under full attack because I was exposing their plans for the latter days. And you, the public, don't fully fear as much as you need to about the danger the church poses to all of us. As I exposed the church's fraud with LGBTQ IAPO+, as they're promoting an Arizona bill, only because it exempts the church from non-discrimination laws. That's exactly what the church wants. They don't want to be subject to the laws of the United States. They want religious freedom over others' rights. And they got that with this new bill in Arizona, which the church came out with a statement for. And of course, Mormons demonstrate how they're the one true church and are good people by attacking me with a thumbs down that none of you can see, but only I can see. So, right now, in what Christians term as Magog, there is about to be a battle waged that all the world will be gathered to. Yeah, isn't that supposed to be Armageddon in Israel? Isn't it supposed to be the Jews? Yeah, too many misinformation campaigns going on. In the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 8, you get Arnold Schwarzenegger's End of Days claim for the movie that was made. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. And of course, Mormons understand that as, well, after Armageddon, then there will be a 1,000-year millennial reign of peace with the church led by Jesus. And after the 1,000 years, Satan will be loosed and seek to overthrow the throne of Jesus one last time. But Christians don't believe in that. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And so, where does this come from? Well, Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39. In 38, Bruce R. McConkie put as the chapter heading, "The Battle of Gog and Magog against Israel." Did I say Ezekiel? Shall usher in the second coming. Do you see that? Bruce R. McConkie is letting Mormons believe that the battle of Gog and Magog is to usher in the second coming. With who? Yeah, Mormons believe Jesus. And so the Lord will come amid war and pestilence, and all men shall shake at his presence. Well, I've done the videos. The Christ of Mormonism, the true Christ, already here, and nobody's shaking at his presence. I can guarantee it. Mormons want him murdered, just like they murdered Joseph Smith, the founding Christ of Mormonism. And so, as I've explained to you, in Mormon reality, the Battle of Gog and Magog has to do with Section 101's parable of the latter days, starting in verse 43, specifically verse 51. Gog is the false Christ. Magog is the land of the great and abominable church. But this is not understood by Christians, not even understood by Mormons, because Bruce R. McConkie won't let you know the truth. Even though they've been blatantly, obviously telling us who the false Christ is and who the great and abominable church is, or what the great and abominable church is. I have that set aside for you. If I get to it, I get to it. I still have the internet today, so yay. Should we cover Putin first, or should we go to the church? Let's do Putin first and force those who don't want to be here and don't want to listen until I talk about the church, where they're going to be offended. I seriously have people who don't believe anything I say, who know in their spiritual witness hearts that I'm false and I'm evil and I'm apostate and Korahor, and yet they watch my videos to the end. That is a level of evil that is just too weird. I mean, that's the kind of thing that Putin would do. Have people assigned to pay attention to everything I say because he knows that what I say is valuable. And so, yeah, if you guys are Russian, I could understand. But Mormons doing this? The church isn't ordering you to do this, are they? Oh, they are, huh? Okay. Got it. Alright, so as I have said previously, Putin has no problem with a nuclear war or a chemical warfare. That's not beneath him. He has no morality. He will do whatever it takes to do what he needs to do. He's done it before, so we know he's capable of this. If you remember, he was testing out nukes. A certain asterisk 45 ripped up the agreement with Putin to allow Putin to resume his nuclear missile launching and testing. And one such test resulted in nuking all of Russia. I still remember that. Somewhere I've got the news clip of that showing where the plume of radiation filled the whole Russian into the lower portion below them. Just nuked the whole land. And that's going to cause serious damage to the biology of Russia. The vegetation, animal life, the ecosystem, etc. But that was not the worst, I guess. If you remember Chernobyl, Ukraine are doing tests in that vicinity currently. Chernobyl was the nuclear meltdown at the power plant, supposedly, where they were also building weapons. And so that's north of Ukraine, but Ukraine is originally part of Russia when it happened. It was Chernobyl, Russia at the time. And so I probably should redo or review with you again where Christians additionally believe that Magog is Russia. It's after the borders of the Caucasus Mountains. And the Greeks developed a legend, which I guess we can call it a myth now, of Alexander the Great. Not Herod the Great, which I made a mistake in the other video discussing it. Alexander the Great is the one who started the Greek Empire and did his campaign of clear there's stories into India as far as he was trying to get to, as the elephants pushed him back. But conquered the Middle East and Egypt with Cleopatra, and that fabled romance where Cleopatra murdered herself by being bitten by asps as a symbol of Egyptian isms. And so the legend has it that he got to the Caucasus Mountains and built a gate to keep out the barbarian heathens, the Russians. And it's apocalyptic literature. All mythology has those elements in them. And so Alexander the Great is this last days Christ who will save the righteous people from the evil Gog of Magog. And so Christians believe that's a literal history too, just like Jesus is literal history, because Constantine said so, the Roman emperor. And so, yeah. You can see what Putin is doing here. You can see what's being set up to destroy Christian beliefs. Because Christians all believe this is it. This is where the last day's battle is to take place. And even China knew all about this. All of these enemy nations have been planning and preparing to destroy Christianity with all of these things that are going on. And so China, they were selling t-shirts on about September 23rd, 2017, referencing Revelation chapter 12, verse 1, that everybody's talking about concerning the birth of Christ. But then there's the death of Christ on 8 April 2024, and those were understood as the first and the last years of the latter days. The latter days are in that time period. And so it's not a coincidence that Putin purposely chose to start the Battle of Magog right now. In 2014, right in the middle of the tetrad where the church was involved, 3 apostles died. Remember? Mormons were going, hey, is this the second coming? Is this it? Is this a sign in the heavens? Church said, nope, nothing to see here. Move along. And so then you have Mormons who demonstrate how much they're good people and how much they don't extort threats of violence for you to accept them as true. As we need a moment of silence. Hard to do it with one hand. Yeah, that's how that all got started. He had a near-death experience and believed that the end of the world was coming and that he was the chosen one. She believes she's a goddess to bring forth Jesus, and they murdered, death, kill to prove they were true. And so, yeah, they justified it saying, well, the kids were zombies. And so Putin yesterday, in his press conference with Magog, I love saying that. Played dumb. That's what he does. That's his tactic. He plays dumb. I'm the president of Russia. I can move my troops anywhere in Russia I choose. And I choose to send them all surrounding Ukraine. That doesn't mean I'm declaring war, but NATO, they're the aggressors. NATO's the problem. They want war. Do you want to fight me? Do you want war with Russia? He will not take responsibility for what he's done. He's already declared war. And nobody seems to remember this or consider it sufficient enough to be a declaration of war. When you cyber attack people, is that a loud sneeze? My goodness. You are declaring war against them. When you shut down their power systems, their power grids, you've declared war. Remember just the other week? Monday, my power got shut off. Friday, the rest of Utah's valley got shut down. Remember that? They never came out and explained what happened. And again, the church is directly connected with the latter days. And so, yes, it's not a coincidence. And so when Nelson got up in 2018 and said a major city yet to be determined in Russia, he was exposing to us Putin's plans for the future. Because now it's in retrospect. I warned you that the church was doing dealings with Russia. And then as cyber attacks occurred, oh, Mormons are involved in those companies that were used to hack our government and big businesses and our hospitals. And yes, China also. The ones who made the t-shirts for the latter days, who know very well all about it. And so when I served the church, the first lawsuit on 24th of February 2020. Do you now see what happened afterward? You see what the church did because they were seeking revenge on me. And so I've gone over with you the real church history, exposing that Brigham Young is not the true successor of Joseph Smith. He had no authority to do so. It was not done properly. He set the whole thing up to have even the name changed to the converts in Europe so that they would only go to him. And so the whole criminal activity with polygamy and the perpetual immigration fund, along with other crimes, Brigham Young set up brothels. Oh, do we not want to talk about that? Is that not faith promoting? Oh, we can't talk about Brigham Young's criminal activity because that's not faith promoting. It's tough enough that the church has to confess that Brigham Young was a racist, just because that was what was common of the day. Because they still have to accept him as a true prophet of Jesus, who gets inspiration from Jesus to solidify or validate their claims to being true church prophets of Jesus, created by Constantine. And Mormons still don't get it. But yeah, Brigham's church was just he and John Taylor. And then the United States shut it down. It ceased to exist. But different groups formed, and one such group was somebody who was the president of the Quorum of the 12 and claimed to be the successor because Brigham Young changed it that way to justify him being the successor. And so yes, Wilford Woodruff is one of the branch-offs, but because the United States would not allow them to reincorporate, Wilford Woodruff was the asterisk president of the church. He was illegal. And so in the United States' eyes, he was just a religious leader. He had no authority as the president of the church. So he was just a religious person leading a group of people that are now illegal, but were pardoned by, is it Grover Cleveland? Which a pardon was only for polygamy. Had nothing to do with the tithing. There was no pardoning for that. And so any FBI agents or district attorney of the United States, Attorney General, any of you guys listening? No. Why? Russia's listening, why aren't you? Just a full betrayal of our own government, who don't take this seriously, who refuse to acknowledge that this is what's going on. As even the press joins in to dismiss all this. So, yeah. So under Heber J. Grant, he had Mormons in key positions of government to reincorporate for the state of Utah and then branch out. And so now it was now a Christian religion. And so they had to turn Joseph Smith's history into a mythology. Because if you, I know you guys who are ex-Mormon, you've all seen already the woman from Arizona who did her thesis paper on the secret meeting of the Mormon intellectuals in 1922. 1921 was when Heber J. Grant gutted the Doctrine and Covenants with new stuff. And then 1922, the Mormon intellectuals were freaking out. Oh my goodness, the church isn't true. What do we do? But Heber J. Grant already knew what he was doing, and so in 1923, reincorporated the church, unbeknownst to Mormons, making Mormons no longer members of the church. They were now chattel. They were specifically designed to bring in revenue for the church through the criminal operation of tithing. See, tithing is not a donation. When it's not a donation, it's criminal. It's a protection racket. See, other Christian churches, they claim tithing, whatever. It's all donations. And so, yeah, massive chaos and corruption. I'm doing the church first, aren't I? I was going to do Putin first. Oh well. And so, the purpose was to restore the kingdom of Deseret. That's what it's always been. Brigham Young came to the Salt Lake Valley because he had the extermination order. They could not live in the United States anymore. He burned down that bridge. That was their original plan, was to infiltrate the United States by taking over Joseph's organization. And this has to do with the Great and Abominable Church, but I'm not including the Book of Mormon to assist you in identifying them. You'll have to, Mormons believe the Book of Mormon is true, so if it's true, then you know exactly who to look for the Great and Abominable Church, right? So that you'll leave it, stay away from it, because it's the enemy. It's seeking to destroy the world and conquer all governments under them. I did the videos. That's what the church came after me and destroyed me with. I exposed this. And so they destroyed me. They said, enough. Get him silenced and get him the hell out of Utah. If not murdered. And they tried. They failed to murder me again. But they destroyed me. So I don't know how much time I have left. But nonetheless. The infamous book by Joseph Fielding Smith, Jr., Ways to Perfection, page 290, 291. And so, failing in the United States to effectively take over the church so that they can infiltrate in the communities, rise up in popularity and power in government, and then take over the government, they were forced to leave. So Brigham Young fled the country, committing sex trafficking along the way, among other crimes. And came to the Salt Lake Valley, established the kingdom of Deseret. He as king, not governor. It was Mexico territory that he conquered. Murdered the natives to establish his kingdom. The very next year, the United States came in and took it over, not even considering Brigham Young. Oh, you're here? Whatever. It's our land now. Mexico seceded. And so it was now American territory. And so that's the whole story of the one guy getting to Congress first to name it Utah Territory. And it included beyond Utah. Went into Arizona and Nevada and up into Wyoming and Idaho and Colorado. That was the territory of Utah, which was the Kingdom of Deseret, which just got conquered by the United States the very next year. So do you think Brigham Young was happy and was willing to submit to the laws of the United States? We believe in being obedient to the law. What is Article of Faith number 12? We believe in being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, magistrates, and obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. So was Brigham Young obedient to the Article of Faith number 12? Well, it wasn't in his scriptures. It was part of the Pearl of Great Price, which was not put in until 1988. When the Pearl of Great Price was. With Abraham and all that stuff. And Brigham Young wanted nothing to do with Egyptian and any of that. Nope. Nothing. His symbol is the inverted pentagram of the organization that founded it. Of the 5 people on 1st of May, 1776. That's why the Nauvoo Temple was dedicated 1st of May, 1846, the anniversary. And so, he rebelled, sent a death threat to the United States, for which they then sent the army, which is the real reason why the temple in Salt Lake City was not built for another 40 years. And Brigham kept kicking out the United States' governors and sheriffs and judges. He didn't want them in his land. This was his land, not theirs. He was kicking them out. You know, he didn't have the capacity to war, and so he did what he could do, and that was kick out the individuals whenever they came in. And so the United States had to send in the army to quell the violence of Brigham Young. And so at that point, Brigham Young called for the converts from Europe to come to Zion. And that's also when he then began settling people outside of the Salt Lake Valley to expand their territory. See, by claiming the land is one thing, but to have people settle in those various places throughout the land that you're claiming is another thing altogether. And so with the United States having effectively shut Brigham Young down, Brigham Young then sent out settlements before the Americans could come in and settle the land. So the Mountain Meadows Massacre, that's one example of Brigham Young not wanting others in his land. John D. Lee, Mountain Meadows Massacre. That's why it was done. But because of how horrendous it was, they were told to stop, sort of. But the church under John Taylor got people up into Canada, as Brigham Young had got them into Idaho, down into Mexico, even. That's where Mitt Romney's family comes from, is the polygamists down in Mexico. And so the incident that occurred with the gang shooting of the gang Mormons, that's why they're violent. All these offshoots from Brigham Young, they're all violent because Brigham Young was violent. This is what happens when you have a leader who incites violence? The people are encouraged. Oh, okay, it's justified. We will incite violence. So John D. Lee, it doesn't even matter if Brigham Young actually gave the order, because he already gave the order to Mormons from the beginning. This is our land. It's not the United States' land. You need to fight for it. You need to fight for Zion. All who fight against Zion shall perish. He twisted the scriptures to his benefit. And so instead of a defensive position, it became an offensive position of criminality. And then the United States shut down the church with John Taylor. And so the church ceased to exist. And so they can't expand and send out settlements anymore. They were shut down. And so converts can no longer come to Zion. They have to stay where they are and build Zion where they are. That's where that policy change took place. The church won't tell you this. They keep it a sacred secret as best as they can. I've exposed it, and they've destroyed me for it. And so they had to recover financially, and so they kept the tithing scam going. And so under Heber J. Grant, they finally had enough money to get the Book of Mormon, or the Triple Combination, republished with the missing scriptures, which has to do with the Great and Abominable Church, taking out the plain and precious parts. How did Joseph Smith know? It's amazing. And refused to translate, and made Mormons slaves to the church, chattel, for the sole purpose of giving money to the church. Mormons have to pay tithing of their wages, not interest from their jobs that they own and operate. Big difference. And so they were doing missionary work around the world to set up Mormons around the world, and money now is being gathered back to Zion rather than the people. As the church continues to increase and increase, they resisted the credit card. They thought that that was the mark of the beast to buy and sell with the number 666. Literally, they believed that. I worked for the church at the distribution center. They told me, yeah, the apostles once thought that credit cards were of the devil with the 666, and so they weren't wanting to use it. That was their justification. How funny, huh? That's the devil's method of economy? And what is Nelson now doing? Requiring the temple recommend to work for the church? With the barcode on it? In order to buy and sell? And work for the church? Okay. But yeah, the video clips of Benson talking about how the Constitution will be saved, like Joseph Smith prophesied, but Joseph Smith will be wrong because it's not going to be saved in Washington. Oh, okay. Well, if the Constitution's not saved in Washington, it's not going to be saved. And so now we see the religious freedom movement that is purposely intended to destroy the Constitution with their revision of, hey, we're a church, back off. We can do whatever we want. And if it's crime, it's not a crime because we're a religion. But, you know, hey, if you guys want to punish other people who are not of our religion for crimes, great, okay. And if you want to make laws protecting blacks or LGBTQ or women, great. Just leave us alone as a religion. We want to persecute these people. We want exemptions. That's what the whole Arizona law was about. The church was able to succeed in getting exemptions as a religion. And so they say, oh, we support non-discrimination laws as long as we have exemption. And Mormons don't see this. I saw the thumbs down, guys. You can't fool me. The whole purpose is to restore Deseret. And the church, I did the video saying something is up. Pay attention. Do you not remember? It's been a while. But the whole thing of the prophet going down, or the apostle going down there to speak with the governor, yeah, now we know what's going on. Arizona was part of Deseret, and I told you guys this, and I was going, hey guys, pay attention, church is setting something up, and now we know what it is. It's the Arizona bill. It's now in the legislature. How did I know? Because with an exemption for the church, they are setting things up so that the church can own and operate property and businesses and say, hey, we're exempt from the non-discrimination law. It was passed, it's legal, we're allowed to discriminate because we're a religion. We can violate your rights because we need to have our rights. And so they force their morality, their standards and values on other people. If you're not us, we can discriminate. Lucifer's plan of happiness in action. But the church is also doing it for another thing that's coming. Magog. Again. Nelson. A major city yet to be determined in Russia. He was exposing Putin's plan to invade Ukraine, to take it back. Because that's where we have a temple. See, the church didn't pull out missionaries from Hong Kong when China came in and invaded and conquered now. Yeah, Nelson wasn't concerned about those missionaries. But for Ukraine, yeah, I did the video. LDS Church indicates imminent war in Ukraine because Nelson pulled an anomaly. He hasn't protected any missionaries in other countries that had war, you know, except for Africa, but after the war began. But here in Ukraine, he did a preemptive pullout. See, Putin claims he's innocent. He's not doing anything. He's just moving troops. That's his right as the leader of the Russians. He doesn't understand why NATO is so aggressive towards him. Oh my God. I can't believe he pulled that. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, you've got everybody thinking that he hasn't declared war yet. He's fooled everybody. He's already declared war with his cyber terrorism and his poisoning and his nuke explosions. Just, yeah, people are dumb, so yeah. He's taunting everybody and teasing them and mocking them for being dumb, not realizing what he's doing. not having manly courage, ripping off their shirts to wrestle bears. And so, yes, the church is going to restore their kingdom. And so, again, Hinckley fulfilled the Book of Mormon by having dominion around the world. The Great and Abominable Church. Dominion around the world, where the true saints are few in numbers around the world and need to be gathered back to the true Zion. But Nelson is plotting to purge the church. He's done it already. He's doing it. Separating the wheat from the tares in Mormonism, as Mormons are being more actively aggressive in their violence and murders. And again, do I need to remind you? These guys are perfect examples of the Mormon attitude. They are the one true church, and they're good, therefore they murder. And it's not murder because they're good, they're true. It's not murder when you're the one true church. And so this is part of the land grab, to have land all over the world, in every country. Because what's coming? Magog, the destruction of all nations, not just the destruction of Ukraine and everybody who goes to fight there. And so, yes, there is talk of nuclear fallout because the flesh falls off of the bones. That whole thing, yeah. Intense heat, day of burning, burn as an oven. Yeah. See, this is the Christian thinking. This is what they're doing. This is what they're setting up. They're getting everybody to Ukraine to fight, and then Putin just, poof! Oh, did I drop a nuke? Oh, I don't know. My bad. Have to forgive me. Can't judge me. And then where's Jesus? Yeah, oops. No Jesus. Go figure. Constantine just made him up, huh? And so who's left? Well, the church made a deal with Putin. We'll finance your war to destroy Christianity as long as you let us have our kingdom of Deseret back. And that's why the church has been destroying itself, purging it of the weak. All the ex-Mormons, the church said, we're not posting our membership stats. My brother lost you. That's how well he's done in purging the church. All the murders, all of the abuse against blacks, against women, against LGBTQ, against the poor. People have had enough, and they're out. And they get some popular Mormons to leave. James Huntsman, the millionaire, the billionaire guy. The church is going, yes, we're purging the weak from the church, so that we'll only have the strong, and we'll bring in Russia, because Russia is teamed up with us, and Russia will come to Utah, and we'll call them the lost 10 tribes of the north that have come to Zion, and after the millennial reign of peace. Peace through destruction, which has been the Middle Eastern's philosophy. Yes, we will have peace with you once we destroy you. We want peace too. It's just all doublespeak. And so under Nelson, he's ramped up the property purchasing around the world. But with Putin, yeah, that's the one place we don't have a temple yet. But he's already paid them. And they, in return, because that's what Putin does, he was working with the criminal organizations in Russia, and then once he became president, he then took over as the crime lord. He's now the boss. And so all this weakness and ignorance, playing dumb, yeah, whatever. Whatever, Putin. And people just fall for it. But, yeah, there's a reason why things are happening the way they are happening and in the order that they're happening. This is why things are getting set up when they are getting set up. And so the generals are telling the press that around the 15th next week, Putin will be at full capacity. Because Biden on Sunday sent in more troops to Poland, and so Putin, in response, claiming to be the victim, oh, well, you send more troops to Poland? I will then send the rest to fill up the 30%. So yeah, they're now on their way. As the other troops that already surround Ukraine are now advancing towards the border. And it's a show of force, and I would just say, yeah, it's just Putin flexing his muscles without a shirt. But when the church came out and announced they're pulling out missionaries, I went, you know, this is for real. And so the Arizona thing was specifically designed so that the church, once they own Deseret again, the church will then own all the businesses. They will run the government. And so, hey, well, the laws, we want to be non-discriminatory. And so anybody who's not a part of the religion has to not discriminate. But if you want to discriminate, you got to join the church and pay your tithing. And oh, by the way, there are no non-Mormon businesses. We own it all. So you have to have a temple recommend to buy and sell and work. And so, oh, I guess there are no businesses that are not Mormon that have to follow the laws of non-discrimination? That's too bad. Sucks to be you, doesn't it? And so, yeah, that's their whole plan. Once they get Deseret, yeah, total authoritarianism. And so I warned you about the driver's licenses, allowing for people to put their identity on there. That's what Nazis did, so that they can identify them once they started up the concentration camps. Utah already has one, and they've been using it. I've warned you about this. I got 3,000 views on Google when I exposed it. And then all of a sudden it's gone. They're doing the same thing Nazi Germany did, and they've been doing it undercover, in the underground. And so last year, Utah finally did away with the practice of conversion therapy. That's part of what the Nazis did. Human experimentation on not just Jews. I mean, like I said, if you guys are not in full fear wetting yourselves, you're not afraid enough yet. You do not understand the danger you're in, the harm the church is doing to you and will yet do to you if you survive. These guys are pure evil. I mean, it's not just a fun thing to have an inverted pentagram of Lucifer on the keystone of the Salt Lake Temple. There's a reason why it's Lucifer. Because you should fear him and his doctrines. You need to ban him. You need to get rid of him, because he will destroy you to force your will to him. And so, you remember a certain asterisk 45 who got impeached a second time? See, the first time he got impeached, he threatened retaliation. I wonder what that would have been now in retrospect. But the second time he got impeached, he again threatened, I will retaliate. And so what was he doing that got him impeached the second time? Ukraine. Do me a favor, though, and I will help you against Russia. Huh. Putin told Trump, asterisk 45, to do that. Remember, he was constantly calling him. You know, SNL had the phone conversations. And yes, Vladimir Putin is at his desk without his shirt on. And so the documents that the January 6th committee obtained from Mar-a-Lago that Trump took with him, those are only what he wants people to see. What he doesn't want us to see is already long since destroyed. So as much as this is breaking news yesterday, and there will be some shockers, those are distraction shockers. But, yeah, Putin got Trump to give him whatever he wanted. And that should scare everybody, because nobody's talking about that. We've already witnessed an example of what was done with Afghanistan. Stephen Miller was in charge of making that policy change for the military for evacuation from Afghanistan before Trump left. And so when Biden took over, well, the military had Stephen Miller's operation and thus caused the delay and confusion, requiring regular citizens to go over in helicopters to rescue as many Afghanis as possible. That was all Stephen Miller. So imagine what's been set up for Ukraine for Putin. You know, he ripped up the deal with both Iran and with Putin for nukes. Putin was the long-range nuke missiles, and Iran was only enriching uranium to a certain level, not further. But Iran now, yeah, they're enriching beyond that and giving it to Putin. And Putin has been testing his long-range nukes, which one went kablooey all over Russia. And And so this is what we're looking at here, guys. The church is expecting Putin to make good on his deal to give them the land of Deseret. But it can only happen if the war that has started in Magog also carries over into the United States. The church already is preparing for it. With this Arizona thing, with removing missionaries from Ukraine, the church knows America is about to fall, so that the church will then be given, as part of their agreement from Putin, their kingdom of Deseret back. And they're expanding into Idaho and Utah and Nevada and Arizona to make sure that they get the land back. And so what is this war in America? Well, I did that video the other day, didn't I? So the question is, do I put that video under this new playlist, or do I just start the new playlist here? So this is why I'm warning you. I'm sacrificing my life, because there are things that I should do when I have to go to the streets to die. I may not even have the internet when Putin begins his attack. So I don't know. Let's see if I can find I remember doing the video. Disabdication, in captivity. I'm trying to find the month and day that was understood for it. I found it. The Jews celebrate it, or remember it, rather. July. Okay. But I don't think that's the same understanding as... Oh, yeah, here. Oh, no, that's the date that was posted. They weren't deportations. That was Assyria's tactic. They deported from Assyria into Israel, and from Israel back into Assyria. This was a conquering captivity. They should not be using deportation here. It was far more aggressive and violent. Second Adar. The city fell. 597. We're in Adar 1, so we've already passed second Adar. But that was the first conquering in 597. That is interesting. That would have been February 2nd was Adar 1, day 1. So it would have been February 3rd. Would have been day 2 for the anniversary of that. They don't have the... The Jews don't acknowledge that day. Because of the missing years in the Jewish calendar, rabbinic sources place the date of the destruction of the first temple yeah, no, it's not 423 BCE. Sorry guys. How'd you blow that one? So yeah, it must have been August or somewhere around there for the final one. So yeah, Putin is late in attacking, starting the war. Alright, so we're in Adar, and maybe he's waiting for 2 Adar, which would be Jewish calendar. Okay, so second Adar starts there, which is the 4th of March. So the 5th of March would be the second day of second Adar. Would Putin wait that long? Yeah. And yeah, there's a new moon. New moon Wednesday. Oh. Ash Wednesday. Ash Wednesday. Russian Orthodox do not. They're not Eastern Orthodox. It's a completely separate Russian Orthodox. So where's the Russian Orthodox? There are a small number of Orthodox Christians who follow the Western Rite. These do observe Ash Wednesday, but they're not telling us if Russia is one of them. I would assume not, as they would cling to the Eastern Orthodox. Because the Eastern Orthodox also includes your Greek Orthodox and yeah, there are 23 Eastern Christian churches. They're just all separated from each other. They've been shattered. Far worse than the... Okay. Alrighty. So... Putin will do what he does when he does it. We all must wait for him. As he'll justify it and say, I had no choice, you attacked me. So did I cover everything for this battle update video? That may be my last. Yeah, the church taking over Deseret again as Putin as an agreement. NATO as the aggressors, 15th of February, but it could be 2nd of March. Pay attention. And do us a favor though, impeachment, revenge. Yeah, we got it. There was something here, wasn't it? No, that was for this one. Yeah. Okay, we're done. So I'm sacrificing my life to save your lives, and I'm still getting attacked. While I was about to start the saving of this video, I was checking the news and found out about Brad Wilcox. Perfect illustration of how the church is purposely purging the weak members from the church. He was giving a youth devotional on a Zoom conference to a specific stake or whatever. I found the video, the whole speech, but just to let you know, he demonstrated the racism of the church, that it still exists to this day, despite Mormons still in denial. Oh no, we're no longer racist. Jesus is no longer racist. Not since 1978. And people just don't listen to me. They just don't get it. The church will never change. They're purposely doing this to purge the weak from the church. How hard is this for you to understand? With the plan for the latter days of the great and abominable church. They can't have righteous in the church. They've got to purge you from the church. So they've got to label you as the enemy. They've got to label you as weak. They've got to label you as wrong. So that they can have only conforming and compliant Mormons who will be sheeple. I guess is the new term these days. Who will allow the church to do whatever they want. And so, yes, this has already upset a whole bunch of people in just one night. Maybe that's why my videos didn't get as many views. But again, LGBTQ, the story I did do yesterday in Arizona, perfect illustration. The church is still bigoted. They're still racist. They're still sexist. They want laws to allow them to be such. That's what it means by exemption. Exempted from the law so that they can discriminate. Don't be fooled when they say, oh yeah, we're for rights for humans, blacks, women, LGBTQ, IAPO+. Yeah, let them have it. Just not with us. That's what they mean. And if you don't get it, dear God, you're going to continue to yell at the church and demand they change? They are the enemy. It doesn't matter if the Southern Poverty Law Center doesn't designate the church as a hate group. They are a hate group. It doesn't matter if our government won't label them as a terrorist organization. They are a terrorist organization seeking to overthrow our government, seeking to overthrow the governments of the world and betray Putin. And yet, Putin won't listen. He doesn't believe me. So, here's my video. Which, this is at the end, so regardless.